Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Pete,
hey.
Hello.
Kathleen, Shawnee,
Hi.
love seeing everyone. All right, we've got a couple people off camera. Awesome. Well, Happy New Year, guys. Welcome back to 2025 budget model. Woohoo. Scott, I can feel your excitement through the screen.
Yeah, we got a whole year.
Yeah. Scott and I were texting back and forth today, and for the beginner group, we feel like the last calls and this one a little bit were like preseason. It's like like spring training, right? Like getting ready, getting some systems built and goals thought of. And our conversations will change a little bit next month because we'll have all of February, or sorry, all of January's numbers for you guys, for many of you, your first time. Some of you, this will be a little bit of a repeat too. So as we kick off for this group, I'm curious, like our very first call, we really talked about like what are some financial goals that you're looking to achieve? And a couple of our action items were to think about what those goals look like and what's important to you about those. And then we had some tactical action items like separating business and personal accounts if those weren't done. So I'm curious, who came up with a financial goal here and would be willing to share?
17 transactions for me.
Okay, cool. What would 17 transactions do for you this year?
It would allow me to pretty much cover my home expenses, kind of our cost of living. Would be able to kind of hit that and would be about 1.5 transactions a month, which I feel at this point in my career is a good and attainable goal to reach for.
Awesome. Now that you have been that plan of 17 transactions covers my living expenses, like how does that change the way you showed up for work this week?
Um, Be honest, not as much as I would have thought. I mean, I'm always still trying to put my best foot forward with it all and having a handful of clients. And unfortunately, one just dropped out last night, but trying to just continue to do the work more so, I guess also with Ignite happening right now, trying to have more interactions per day and actually get on the phone and utilizing the forward process a little better when talking or texting with people instead of just relying on talking with people at the gym or standing in line doing things.
Hmm. Okay, so more intentional.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Very cool.
Hey, Ben, quick question. What does that equate to with net profit? Like I know we always talk in real estate about transaction and volume, but like what does that, and you might not want to share, but like do you know what that equates to net profit? You broke it down that
It's
way. So
I think I did. I think it's about 76,000. I think from just using the MREA kind of list. I just chose I think it was like 147 gross for me, and then yeah, that take home would be I think in that 76 range. So I just kind of did our living expenses for the last year and extrapolated it, and then figured out what that was, and that's how I arrived at about 75. And it'd be nice just to be able to have this income do that instead of just relying on my wife's income.
I love that answer because I think a lot of people do it the opposite way, where they say, I want to sell this many houses and it's going to get me this much money. But really, you got to look at how much money do I need and then backtrack it into how many houses you need to sell.
Mhm. Has
And plus
anyone
your picture makes me hungry. So
Yeah, those are some good curds. Sorry, I'm standing in line right now as well, so I can't be on video. I'll be in and out here the next hour.
I mean, with that method, Scott, that you said, okay, what's the income I need? to not just survive, right, but thrive, right? So how do I pay my cap, my business expenses, my personal expenses, and then the things I really want to do, like my life by design. Has anyone filled out a life by design form here? No? Okay. Familiar? Yes, no? Okay. So feel free to message me if that's something you'd be curious about. Essentially, what it is it's a worksheet where we can outline what are your business expenses, right? We can take some of that from the tracking that we'll do this year, or we would have looked back last year to understand office fees. What are those monthly things that come up? Then what's our cap, right? Okay, so then we can decide if however much that is, let's say it's $50,000. Well, then we can decide, okay, based on your average transaction, how many homes do you need to sell in order to just cover expenses for business? Then we do the same for your personal expenses. And then we do the same for your what we call a profit allocation or your life by design, right? So for example, that might be I want to save $20,000 towards an investment property, or I want to pay down this debt, or I want to go on a trip and it's going to cost 5K, right? Well, then we can figure out exactly how many homes you need to sell to cover all of those buckets. And then we've got an idea of what you're working towards. And it's kind of cool. Like, okay, when you close 5 units, all right, I'm going to check that category. And then I'm going to keep moving towards the others.
I
What
love
are,
that. It's not something people talk about.
mm-mm.
It's not something that realtors talk about, but it's something that business owners talk about, meaning
Right, most.
business owners of real estate.
Yeah, what's the most common real estate answer? That's I want to close $10 million of volume, right? They talk in volume versus profit. What other financial goals did you guys come up with?
I came up with a GCI of 150,000. And when I saw that breakdown, based on how much my average commission is per transaction, I felt like that was a realistic amount, but also an amount that will push me a little bit more. And then just one other thing that I um, loved about having done this is in the past, I've tried to put in a goal in command and I kept getting stuck with the cost of sales and expenses and not having a clue what to put in those. So I never completed the goals part in command. But thanks to all of these exercises and using the spreadsheet and putting that for last year, it was super easy for me to go into the goals and input all that numbers and now have that visual of what I need to do.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. That makes this all worth it, when people are doing it and having those ahas and willing to like get their sleeves rolled up, and it's weird, it's awkward, but once you do it and you get in it, it's really fun and beneficial.
I will say that I was very intimidated by the tool when I first saw it, until I just kind of took it tab by tab. And Scott, you've been great at answering some of my questions through email and helping me with some things. But um, once you do the work, and I was able to go back and do all of last year. I had COVID in the beginning of December, so I had a lot of time to just sit at home and not do anything. So I was able to go back to and do all of 2024. And now that I've done a full year, I feel really good about being able to go in month by month. And it's helping me really look at every expense and every cost, um, as much as I should, being an owner of my business.
That's
That's
awesome.
awesome. Mhm. Julia, how does 150K GCI compare to what you've done in years past?
So that would be about double of what I did last year. And so this is my third year in real estate. I was on a team. I left the team team, so I'm individual now. I've had full-time jobs, part-time jobs throughout my real estate journey. I went through breast cancer, so it's kind of hard to judge what I can do with a full year of being 100% committed to real estate. So part of it's based on what I've done in the past, but then also knowing that this is the year that I'm putting real estate first, and and really, I really want to see what I can do, being fully focused in real estate.
That's awesome. Good. Well, this is a good group to help cheer you on and hold accountable to some of those goals too.
Thank you.
I'm curious if anyone set a goal outside of GCI or transactions, like perhaps something related to a longer term goal, right? Maybe it's a net worth goal or a bigger picture with investment properties or a business or trips or anything that's driving you that you picked. Pete, I think you're on mute.
All right. I've got a goal to get 2 doors for investment properties this year.
Love it.
Very cool.
Do you have any yet? Have you gotten one yet? These would be your first two?
This would be my first 2. We bought our first house 4 years ago, and my wife really wanted to do a duplex. And I had lived in a duplex for about 10 years before that, renting, and I said, I'm not sharing a MFing yard with anybody else. I want my own house, which was short-sighted of me. That was before I got into real estate though, so.
That's one small step for man, but one giant step for mankind or whatever. But, I mean, you go from 0 to 1 is the biggest, right? And then 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, it just becomes easier and easier.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
awesome.
and by 2 doors, I just mean like one house, but a duplex.
Yeah.
Awesome. When you set that goal to add your first property, 1 duplex, 2 doors, how did that impact how you're looking at this year from or did that impact at all? Maybe how or if it impacted like how you set up some business planning?
Well, need to get better at saving, putting money away. I didn't quite reach my goal last year for units. So I want to make sure I get to that this year. I've got a goal this year for 36. I did 21 this past year. So I want to up my units and just really concentrate on spending less and saving more, and I think I want to have about 30 grand saved, set aside, just specifically for investment. So
Would that be for your down payment, or would that be for like improvements on the property after purchase?
probably improvements. I'm thinking about maybe, I don't know. I haven't completely decided how to do this, but I thought about maybe doing a cash out refi and using that to put down on an investment property. I'm not sure if that makes sense or not.
Oh, it does. I love it.
Awesome. When we think about some of these goals, like Pete, if we could keep talking for a second, what systems or habits do you think you might need to set up throughout the year such that, like you said, I need to save more, I need to, to allocate those funds? What do you think you'd want to kind of do differently or add in to make sure you hit that goal?
Being more disciplined with my first year, I was doing the profit first method. So I'd take 5% and put that into like a profit account. And then I'd take my 30 or whatever percent and put it into my tax account, and then a little into business, and then the rest would be to live off of. So I did that the first 2 years, and then last year when I was actually kind of being more successful in my business, I got away from it. So bad on me. I've got, I should be able to cover my taxes, but after that, we're just kind of like, all right, we need spring to pick up here so I could start saving again.
When you were doing profit first, did you kind of set aside time each month or at each closing? Like, what did that habit look like that was working for you at the time?
It was pretty much as soon as the check got deposited, I'd go in and I transfer into the different accounts.
Okay.
And then last year it's kind of like, well, when the checks got, I didn't have a great second year. So I had to kind of cash out some investments to supplement the lack of income from 2023. And then by the time things got going in 2024, I was kind of behind, and we're like, well, we have some things that we've been wanting to buy and that we can now afford, and just fell out of the habit, and it just snowballed into not doing it at all.
Okay. So it sounds like if you were to think of like the first step to kind of get back on track for whether it's 36 units or this savings goal, what do you think that step would be that you'd want to take this month that would make it a little bit easier for once those closings started happening?
As far as like getting the business or saving the
Either
money.
getting the business or like the habit and that system that you kind of got away from last year.
The habit, I guess, I don't know if I can do anything until that first check rolls in. But I'm trying to do as much as I can to get those checks rolling in as fast as possible. I've got a stack of 400 or so letters that are going out this weekend. So we've got some um, newer methods for myself to prospect a little bit more and get those listings and not rely on open houses and calling for buyers. So
Okay. Great. Love that stack of papers right there. So very cool. Scott, what questions, if any, do you have around people's setting their financial goals or advice?
I mean, I think it really, the mindset that I would have is helping people buy and sell homes is the vehicle that gets you money. It's not everything. I think most people in real estate, they just think about how many homes are going to sell, what that's going to look like. But think of it as like what that money can do. We could do anything in the world for a job, and we've chosen real estate because we might need to analyze that. That could be a whole nother Zoom mastermind, like therapy, like why did we choose real estate? But we have. And with that being said, it took me probably 12 or 13 years to realize that there's more to it. And so what Pete's talking about, it's like insider trading for us. So you hit the nail on the head, Stephanie, when you say, what will this money do for you? And think really big. And then once you have that, then work it backwards into how many homes you need to sell. And you can also think of like, what are other ways I could make money? Could I have cash flow? Could I, have a side hustle? Could I do other things on top of just helping people buy and sell? Maybe you make 20 grand a year by doing a flip or two. And then it all starts adding to that total goal.
So smart to think about like multiple streams of income, right? It all doesn't have to rely on you actively going and listing a home or working with buyers, right? There's other opportunities within our industry or that you all have talents around. And it could be as simple as profit share, right? As one of the streams of income or anything else. But the more that we've got mailbox money coming in or other avenues, it's like all roads leading to this one goal that you've got.
Because we don't want to be the realtor that says, I've been doing this for 35 years on every call with every co-broke, because that realtor doesn't want to still be doing it. So it's like, when you have a window amendment and they say, I've been doing this for 35 years and I've never asked anyone to ask me for a window amendment. It's like, they're not really wanting to do this. They're having to.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting concept. Like think about the difference in that language. Like I want to do this versus I have to do this. It's so strong. And a coaching question that I've been asked once is when do you want to sell your last house? It's kind of an interesting question, and the answer varies for like all of us, but it is something to think about. Like when do you want to sell that last house? And then this is the call that if we understand what each other's goals are, well, then we can get there step by step versus suddenly a year goes by and we've not gotten closer to that goal, right? So I think that's a good segue into, we wanted to kind of understand what are your financial goals that you've been thinking about so we understand how we can support you on this call. And also like aside from that, like the past two calls have been really reviewing that spreadsheet to get you familiar with that. And we can certainly touch on that today again, but what brings you guys in? Like I've seen your faces on all three calls for the most part. Like what's making you continue to come and what would you like to get out of these meetings so that Scott and I ensure that that's the content that we're providing each month for you?
And to piggyback on that, as you think, uh, you guys are the ones showing up. So like you guys get to help. This is a mastermind. You guys get to help. We could talk about 400 different things, but the ones that show up, we want to make sure that we're getting what you guys want out of this. So now that you have a little more time to think, who wants to go?
Well, I'm doing this. Obviously, I do this for a living, but I want to learn more because you two are so talented in this aspect of your businesses. And so for me, it's helping for my clients. It's going to help me for my team. And I think it's just really a beneficial tool. And anytime we can learn, especially if it's free, I can't imagine why there aren't more people on this because it really is great. Now, that being said, I haven't finished watching all of the other tutorials that you had, shame on me, but I look forward to it. It's been on my desktop and it's at my forefront of when I get to it, I really enjoy it because I'm really learning. And I think that spreadsheet, Scott, is phenomenal. And the fact that you took all those hours and days, months, weeks, who knows how long it took you, but it's really a fantastic tool. And I think every single agent or team would benefit from that.
It's been a work in progress over about 7, 8 years. So thank you. But it's like, yeah, there's a lot of frustration and a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of like mistakes and things going into that, but we get to all benefit from it.
So I just am learning. This is my first year. And I feel that I know the concepts, I still have to plug everything in from last year. But just having this group to hear what others are struggling through, as well as hints, tips, tricks, I feel is going to help me. And here's a basic question, so I'm almost embarrassed to ask, but you had on your template, you had the 2024 model. Do we save that as separate and then start as a separate year 2025? Is there anything that changes from from the programming and the calculations that you do that you want us to use in a certain place?
I had that same question, so thank you.
I was gonna say, first of all, that's like the least dumb question on earth. But I would say that no, it's and Julia had the same question. So everyone had the same question. And plus we're on the beginner one, so there is no question to be ashamed of. With that said, the best thing for people, if you've been doing this in 2024, I would just do file, make a copy and change the name to 2025 because I did change one video. It's it's the way the DAs are done has changed in 2024. So I changed the video on DAs that's not updated in your spreadsheets because I updated the master, but that doesn't update all of yours. But the ease of your P&L and how it's changed your chart of accounts, if you just copy it, it'll be so much easier for you to do it that way. It would virtually be just copy it, wipe out the expenses, cost of sales, commissions, and now you're ready to go.
So Scott, on that vein, when you say you update things, I saw like in one of your first videos, like make sure you're watching or you're using sheet 7.0 or something like that. If we are doing what you said to just copy our own sheets or 24 and then creating a copy and then renaming it to 25 and deleting everything, what would be the best way to get updated videos, or when you update the videos, do those automatically update in the video tab on the bottom there?
No, they don't. So Stephanie, I think what I need to do is just like send it to you to get to the mailer list. And then like I can, before this one's over, I can go over like how you would put that in there. If
Okay.
or make like a little loom on how you would put it in there, and then Stephanie can get it out to the mailer list.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would be stopping us though, just from using your master one and just doing the duplicate and just starting fresh? Like, I guess what would be the big difference of, like you said, it'd be easiest for us to just delete everything and use our P&Ls, but I guess having not done one in depth, why would that be better than just kind of using your mastered one and then creating that duplicate and renaming it like the first couple steps you said in that video would be done?
If you haven't put effort into the P&L and the chart of accounts, then I would get the new one. But the chart of accounts is very broad or very generic. And
Oh,
then you
like
can
when you
enter in like,
customize it. Okay.
yep,
Yep. Yep. I
if you
understand now.
spend time customizing it, like you've watched the videos and you're like, okay, and you've started customizing it, then it would not be worth it. It would be like a 2 clicks of a button to delete the one video and then um, enter in the new one.
Okay.
And, you know, versus a lot of times recreating all that customization.
So great idea. I will get that video from Scott. So anyone who's already started their chart of accounts and uploaded that or entered that, I will get, when I send out these recap videos or emails, I'll include that video and I'll include Life by Design. If there's anyone on this call that did not get my like 30-minute reminder email that I sent before the call, if you could drop your email in the chat, because I don't email the entire market centers. I just email the people who are showing up and give me their email address. So I'll make sure you're on that. Perfect. Thanks, Brian. Okay, Pete, I think I might have you on there, Pete, but I'll check. And Leah. What else? Okay, so from what I'm hearing from Kim, Kathleen, a couple comments in the chat, really looking for tips and tricks, just a better understanding of how you can use KW's budget model to understand the percentages, cost of sale, and just kind of start becoming familiar with that. How else can we help you on this call?
I think another thing that would be helpful is Scott does it so well and he knows it like the back of his hand and those Zoom calls. And I know he's like flying through them because he only has 5 minutes, but just to be able to get more comfortable with what each expense line item would be in those drop down menus. He does, I mean, there's the one where he really breaks it down where fours are this, fours have 4 sections, the fives have these sections, but obviously I can't recall which one is which. I think it's income out of fours, but like being able to be like, okay, this is this one, this fee is this one, this BAC is this, because it's when you do the COA section and you're trying to choose from it, it doesn't really match what kind of I picture it as, or what I wrote it down as BAC. There's like, it's a seller something or other. So it's just trying to get more comfortable. Obviously, that comes with repetition, and we need to do that. And once we start doing this, and we'll get better at it. But mainly just like maybe breaking it down and having examples of someone's full expense account. And maybe there's a video later. I think I've watched maybe 9 or 10 of the videos, but maybe there's like, if we can go through like what Keller Williams, those monthly emails that KW sends out, and then being able to kind of where each of those go through and things like that. Because there's just different terminology that I'm just not familiar with yet.
Okay.
I want to say, can we collect all of us money so that Scott can get the professional version of Loom so that he doesn't have to go fast?
I bet part of that is it's just no one wants to sit and watch a 20-minute video either.
It's
Right?
funny. I just laugh. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, okay. I'm going, and he's just like, it's so, I have so much anxiety for him. I'm trying to get through it all.
Number one, I'm like, I might be a limiting belief, but I'm like, who wants to listen to a long video about money? And number two, I didn't have a paid subscription to Loom at the time, so I like had to make it under 5.
It's
I
funny,
love,
Kat.
I love the short videos though. It really
like
can really pound them out.
I like how they're broken down because I can go back to, whichever tab I'm working on, I can go back to that video.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I definitely prefer the no fluff, like just do it. You know what I mean? Like don't talk to, just like roll through it, because that's where it's brilliant. I mean, your humility and your honesty is part of why, like, the questions that we have is what makes it so different than other trainings. It really is.
Yeah, and once you start data inputting, it's just like, okay, just pause it here and then go do it, and then rewind it 10 seconds and then listen to it again, zoom in what he's doing.
Well, and
yeah, we'll make
gamifying
it work.
Yeah, and the whole gamifying it, like, I think that I was just thinking, is that something that we could do in our mastermind, like where we're set, obviously we're having these meetings, but is there like, we're setting like kind of interim goals, like, okay, everyone sign up to get this done.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like a micro goal within the broader goal. I don't know. Not that we're all adults, but sometimes I think maybe, I don't know what other people think, but.
We're all adults, but everyone loves a competition mostly, right? We're in sales, and yeah. I like the idea of gamifying it too. Based on kind of what a couple of you guys have said, and Ben, maybe what's helpful is any expense or cost of sale that you're unclear about exactly what should go in there. Maybe if there's a way to highlight that box. And then Scott, like that would be perfect for our February call to start digging in on when people have their January numbers. Or just kind of add another tab and make a list of questions. That way we can make sure that we're using the best use of your time, like getting you the best use of your time on our next call.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do on the advanced, is like people will share what they've done. And then it's like, oh, I had this question. There is a chart of account for questions. So that way you don't have to like you don't have to waste time thinking like on each one, like, oh, where does this go? What goes here? Like when I don't know what it is, I just type question and I just go to the next one. So I'm like chunking it away as fast as possible. And then I might have like 6 questions and I sort the spreadsheet, and then I got the questions all together, and then that's when I just copy it and paste it to our team thing and say, hey, what are these? Like this month, I just finished today in true transparency, last minute, which is also a benefit of having these monthly, is like I got to get this shit done. But we had something like a $50 to TJ Maxx. We had something to Dick's Sporting Goods, like 51 something, and then we had Walgreens. And I'm like, okay, these could be anything, right? So then 2 of them were we did a contest for any AOs from I think December 1st to December 31st. We had a present under the tree and they got to pick a present. So 2 of those were for presents and one of them was for a closing gift. So really those 3 questions got answered in 2 minutes, and then I just re-charted them and resorted it instead of instead of it being like, oh, I don't know what this 5182 is to Dick's Sporting Goods, and then I have to like ask a question, and then I have to wait, and then 2 minutes later I ask a question about TJ Maxx. It's like chunking it for me makes it really quick.
Mhm. I guess for me, kind of along those lines is as I went through the different expense categories, and I know you both aren't accountants, tax accountants, but I feel like there are a lot of things that I could be including in expenses that maybe I haven't. So, and then also maybe being a little bit more strategic in that. An example would be when I have listings, if I take the listing at 6%, I've kind of thought about maybe offering more services. Like maybe I cover the cost of a pre-listing home inspection. So with something like that, be something that, yes, I could pay for as a way to, get the listing, get the seller to do the things that I want them to do, include that, but then also be able to write it off as a business expense. So I'm helping my listing, but then also kind of giving myself a tax break.
Yeah, I think that's where the chart of accounts is 95% similar for everyone. And then certain things, like that's where we could add a line to your chart of accounts that would say, like listing prep or something. So in mine, I have, or in the whole one, we have staging, advertising, promotion, yard signs, photos, and videos. So it's 6-2110, 2120, 2130, 2140. If you, for something like a pre-home inspection, that, it's not really staging. So like you could do a 6-2150, which would be a good idea for everyone because that is going to be common. And but 6-2150, it could say listing cost dash like listing prep or something like that, whatever we call it, but then you would put it in there.
Okay. And that is something that I could write off, right?
100%.
Okay.
So the difference between Gary Keller and KW and what we're looking to do here, and I've said this before, but people are, they're on, maybe you miss whatever. But the difference between what we're looking to do with this and what your accountant is we want to know exactly what you're spending your money on. Uh, the purpose of this is to get it down to a penny. So you say, this is exactly what it takes to run my real estate business. The purpose of an accountant is to make look like you made the least amount of money possible. So certain things that the accountant would look at is, depreciation or mileage or certain things that aren't like real expenses that they can put in there to make you make the least amount of money. The other piece that I look at is, so I get the question a lot about charity. And so if you're doing charity, like we just had that United Way campaign, and if you donated $250, is that a real team expense? Or is that just something that you're doing? Like, did that money that you gave to United Way help your team? Or was that like crucial to, not team, sorry, your real estate business, or not? And my answer to that is no. However, I still want to make sure it's a tax write-off. So on the spreadsheet, it wouldn't be on there because then it would, maybe you gave 10 grand to United Way. Now it's like, oh, I didn't make any money with my real estate business, but you did. So this net profit that we talk about. Once we have that, then we take taxes from there, we take charity from there, we take other things that like your accountant wants to know, but it's not for your real estate business, if that makes sense.
Scott, are you kind of basically explaining like when we say above the line and below the line?
Yes.
Have you guys heard that before? Yes, no, no. Okay, couple no's, couple yeses. So you'll hear that a lot at KW, like our market center runs financials and some expenses are above the line and some are below. So when Scott talks about the line, that just when he's saying, I want to know exactly what it costs to run your real estate business and that charitable donation of $10,000, that didn't you didn't need that to sell real estate, right? You didn't need to spend that to sell real estate. So we would say that would go below the line. So that would go after we calculate your net income, it would be below that and taken off of that. So we kind of have two numbers on a P&L that show almost like I just don't know any other way to explain it except from like above the line and below the line, but almost like a line of demarcation that then some of those other expenses that it does use, like owner profit, charitable donations, some profit share on whatever, that would go below that first profit section. Does that help clear that up? Okay, so if you ever hear that term, that's what that's referring to.
And moving forward with these, if you do have questions, like I say, I mean, chunk them out. You might have 5, and then you can come on here and you'd be like, ooh, you're like drooling because you're so excited to be on here because you can get your questions answered. Now, if it's more urgent than once a month, just email me, like Ben has, Julia has, people have. It's like I won't get it to it in like 1 second, but I'll get it to it soon enough. And I don't know why I'm predisposed to like that sort of thing, but I think it's just like a problem to solve, and it's I'm being useful. If you need me to change a light bulb, I'm your guy. Although Ben is fighting for second or maybe first, depending on his wingspan. But just let me, email and put Stephanie on it too. Like put us both on the email.
Yeah, that way one of us will make sure that we get to it. Yeah, and if you guys have questions, chances are someone else on this call has that same question. Look what happened earlier about the 2025 versus 2024. So by asking questions, you're helping all of us learn. And so we love that. So please come with them. There's nothing too small.
Can I show something now based on what Ben had to say?
Yeah.
Actually, 2 things. I think it would be beneficial for everyone to see. So I am doing this all with you. So it's not something that I'm just saying, hey, like you do and I don't. But I'm gonna make this a little bigger if I can. I got a Mac, so I don't know the actual terms here to make it. Okay, there we go. So can everyone see this? So this is my spreadsheet. So this is December. So we have a pretty big team. And so these are all the numbers, and you can see here on column B, it's sorted. Actually, it's sorted by column C. So you can see like the chart of accounts and how it works. So it's all 6-1, 6-2, 6-3, all the way down. Right? That makes sense? So what I do here, and really like it's basically this simple for me, but I will pull I'll download my transactions from the bank. And so this is what it looks like. And then I can just copy all of these. Well, that's more than this month, but I can copy all of December, and then I just come in here and paste it. And then I copy the amounts and the description, paste it. So then it looks all really weird looking, and it's not centered, and it's not the right font, and it's not perfectly squared like horizontally. So then I highlight everything and I center it, and then I make it perfectly horizontal, and then I make everything Arial 10. So then that's like my first thing, because if I don't do that, I just can't even think, like my brain will explode. So from this, I want to talk about what Ben had to say, and I'm gonna split the screen, which hopefully you can still see. But when you look at, this is how I do my KW bill. So this is my email, and my invoice came from KW. So I open it up, and we did Pi Day at our office. And so like our pies just went on our office bill. My office bill isn't $2,600 a month. I would probably leave. But so this is what I do. So the total amount was which is weird, but the total amount was 2631.72. So I just typed this in wrong. So I want to show you how I do this. 2631.72. It came on 12/23, and the description is the NBR LLC receivable. So now I go in here and I just itemize it. 1746 black and white. 226.20 color. And then 78. And just to save time, I'm not gonna write the descriptions, but I'm gonna show you how I do this. And in case you're wondering if this looks like twice as yours, Jeremy and I have the same one. So we pay double the sunshine, double the MLS, double the fees, double the everything. 200906. And then 25. So I enter all this in. You can see that it's 12/23, and I will highlight this. And then I look, does this amount 2631.72 match 2631.72? It does, so I did it right. I delete this because I'm basically double counting it. So now I can go back here and I can just label it. So I know that this is copies. This is how quick it is for me. Printing, dues, MLS. This is tech. This is sunshine, which I do culture. This is the hell is this? Oh, this is errors and omission. This is our team fee for MLS. So it's dues.
For the
This is-
errors and omission one, sorry to kind of, you can probably do this as we're talking, but the $70 one, what was that labeled as for in the email that you get from the office? Because that's sort of my question about like how to transition what someone else is calling something versus what we should call it for the spreadsheet, I guess.
So
I think it's errors and emissions still.
Is
Yeah.
it errors? I mean, okay. I just
Yeah.
didn't know if it actually, I mean, I don't know those spreadsheets or those monthly ones.
I
well
think
enough
it just
yet.
says E and O.
Yeah.
I would never guess that. Okay. Errors and omissions.
And I don't know, like, there might be some differences between our offices, but it's all pretty much centrally done now. So I'm thinking we're all pretty much the same. So this is the KW Tech, that's the international. This was that was Pi Day. And this is dues too, because every one of us has $25 a year to stay in the profit share system. So when I do this now, I will highlight it all and right click, and then I'll sort it by column C, because this is column C. So now I can just I just look at the first number. So 2, 4, and you can take this, if you want, take this little blue circle and you can drag it down and it will copy it. And then I go 5, 6, and then this one's the 9th. So now I have this all labeled, and keep in mind, this would all have the description here too. And then this is the last thing I do, because on my bank account, it'll say, 26, whatever. But I can't just label that all into one category, because it's not one category. It's like 7 different categories. That makes sense. So this is the last thing I do. I pull it out. I literally do that. I have it on top, and then I make sure it matches. And then from here, I could highlight everything, and I sort it all again.
Sorts it back into it. Okay.
Yep. And I've already done that into here. You can see here's all the, here's the MLS stuff, the team fee, the admin fee, the new. So I've already done it. So I mean, I'm just gonna delete this because it's double counting. But that's how I do that.
And Scott, how many years have you been using the spreadsheet?
At least 6.
Okay, so Scott's probably moving faster than we're gonna move on day one, right? Scott's running a marathon and we're gonna do a couch to 5K. So just know that like if you don't know like you don't have to memorize the numbers. Remember, it's all there for you. And just that's why we're in this preseason. So our next thing for February's call is that we're going to do our January numbers. So when we talked, like Kathy was talking about gamifying, what would it look like if everyone on this call, if the game was 100% got this done for January's numbers? What do you guys think?
Like we get a pizza party or something? Is that what you're saying?
Right?
could
Everyone gets their
we
own
could
little,
charge that to the one of the offices, I'm sure.
totally. Gamify meaning, I guess, more like personal satisfaction.
Yeah, no, obviously that'd be amazing. I mean, that's I texted Scott before the meeting that it's like doing things like that. Getting mine up to speed for 24 is going to be the goal, and obviously doing January as well. But Scott, I think that may be a future Loom video for you, what you just did, because that was exactly what I was looking for. So obviously, I know we can access these videos again, but I think that would be pretty beneficial for lots of people that aren't comfortable with it, just to see you doing that and all of those quick little shortcuts that you do. I think 99% of people don't know Excel as well as that. So it's good to be able to see that and then just like, oh, wait, where did you just click that to get the sum total on the bottom right corner? I didn't know you could do that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll start to pick up on this stuff too as you start to do it. So it looks like maybe Deja and Brian, I will get you this chart as well. We'll just start putting it out in our recaps along with the other docs if you don't have it yet. Let's see, we've just got a few more minutes. Were there any questions from like practicing with November and December numbers that you wanted to ask Scott on the spreadsheet, or any bigger picture things that you guys wanted to talk through before we wrap?
I just have a question. And again, this might be accounting stuff, but how important is it, especially for things like meals or travel, to save physical receipts this day or like screenshot them and use an app versus just having that all in your credit card statements and bank card statements?
Is there a $75 rule? Why is that coming to my head?
Oh,
Does
no.
that make sense? Like, does that ring a bell? Why did I think
Back
of
in
it
the
was
day,
something?
yeah, I think.
Yeah, I would definitely check with your accountant. For some reason,
Okay.
I thought, or that if it was under 75, as long as you had it on the statement, then that would help, but I am not an accountant or a
Yeah.
CPA or any of that. So you might want to just take photos if you are more lower tolerance for risk on that.
Okay.
And that's all just if getting audited happens, right? Because you like just to have that information handy.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
yeah, your
We're
accountant
not
does not.
CPAs, and I think that goes based on your tolerance level. Because for me, I'm just like, screw it. I have bank accounts and like that'll just have to be good enough. If I go to family reunion and eat tacos for lunch, I'm not keeping that receipt. I just throw it away. So
Okay.
even if it's $108, I mean, that's a lot of tacos, but like I don't care enough, but I don't want to say that that's what your attitude should be.
That is kind of my attitude. So I like that answer.
You can't tell you can't if the IRS knocks on your door, you can't be like, well, Scott told me that I didn't need that, because I truly don't know. But I just think like in our world now, if it says on the bank statement that it's, whatever, and we have this spreadsheet to back it all up, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, well, like we're
Yeah.
not gonna mess.
Let's see. Anything else?
Well, I'm just interested in, someone mentioned, I think Pete was talking about buying like 2 doors as a goal for 2025. My husband and I actually own an investment property, rental property currently, and I would just like to know like how to keep those books, or should we be keeping them separate, here? I know for like tax planning purposes, we do, but just from that perspective, because that gets kind of tricky with all those additional expenses, whether they're improvements or, you know, property management or things that have to be done there, you know, it really is, it's an income stream, but it is a separate business, but it is related. Yeah.
Yep. So for instance, I have my real estate business and I have, you know, QuickBooks and a spreadsheet like that and a bank account specific to my real estate business. And I don't pay my personal bills through that. And I definitely don't. And then I own properties. So I have separate accounts for that. And I keep just a separate spreadsheet. I don't have as many expenses and whatnot. So I just keep a basic bare bones one that I then hand to my accountant. But I don't commingle any funds. It's all separate. And that's the way you can really tell when you're making money or not, right? If they're all commingled, you don't really know. So if there's, again, we kind of touched on this. I know I'm probably a broken record, but if there's one thing I can suggest to do, if you don't have this done already, is by February, have separate bank accounts for your business and your personal. As you saw with Scott, he could easily just copy and paste his bank statement or download those transactions. It's such a mess if you've got personal things intermixed into that. It's going to add a lot more work for you. So great question. Awesome. Okay, so next February or this coming February, next call, that'll be the big one where we get to dive into some of these numbers. So you'll kind of mark any, like Scott suggested, there's a chart of accounts for questions. Anything you aren't really quite sure about, just dump it there. And then we can, as a group, decide where is that best for you or make any edits, and we'll be able to work together on that. Just reach out if you have any questions, and then it usually takes us like a day or two or a couple days to get the recording of this call. Once we do, I'll send out all those documents and videos we mentioned on the call.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Feel free to drop off or stick around if you want to understand what happens on the more advanced call.
Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank